Hello everyone, welcome back to another Factional Fight stream. My name's Brian, that's my brother Adam, and we are back in Wurm after what I would consider a very successful event last week. What did you think of that, Adam?
I thought it was amazing. It was, it went way better than I ever could imagine. We had so many people out here running through the labyrinth, and yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining us last week, and I think the labyrinth, there's been such a build up, like years of build up for this labyrinth, and then finally we were able to release it, and we were able to experience other people's enjoyment of it by watching people go through. I tried a couple times to log in and kind of be out of the way while trying to watch people, so I don't want to like interfere with what they're doing, but I think I was spotted every time. I don't know a way to just be able to just watch people without them knowing I'm there. I even like drank some potions and turned into like objects, like a flower pot or something, and then I would just position myself somewhere in the village. Just watch people go around, but didn't work, unfortunately. I guess all they have to do is mouse over you and like find out that you're not really a flower pot or whatever I was. But I mean, overall, it was just amazing, and I started seeing other people recording videos of it as well. Going through, we had who was it? I saw some on YouTube.
What?
And
Emu
of course
went
there
through
was
it?
Emu
Like,
went through it. Did you watch that video
Yeah,
of Emu going through? I couldn't
I watched that video.
I couldn't watch, like we couldn't be live. I think I caught like a little bit live at the very end. I was like on my way to work at the time.
Right.
But yeah, I did watch it afterwards, and he did have an interesting way of getting through the labyrinth. The first part of the labyrinth, which is like so, and it made me think, and it made me confirm that I needed to make this recording right now for myself before, because we know we want to leave. We want to leave and go experience more of Wurm. And just in case something happens, I want to have some kind of video record that it existed. And I'm talking about Autumn Twilight. I have no record of Autumn Twilight. I have no blueprints of that whole building. I think we just have some video footage of a little bit about it, but we never filmed specifically about the buildings and the puzzles that we made and the design of it. So this video in particular, if you are watching and you don't want to have any spoilers, and you haven't gone through the puzzle or the labyrinth and you're wanting to go through it, stop watching now. It's painful to say, but because we want viewers, we want you guys to watch, but at the same time, I don't want to spoil anything for you. This video,
Joelle here saying you're on your way to the labyrinth now, and you're about to do it. We are about to go through the labyrinth and play by play it. It's a total spoiler. We're going to talk about the...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to talk about all the ins and outs and all the secrets and all the little thought process that went into the design of it all. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's going to be a spoiler for you if you haven't done the labyrinth. So come out, do the labyrinth, then you can watch the stream. I'm going to be posting it onto our YouTube channel. It's going to be available on our Twitch channel to watch afterwards. So,
I can definitely see that this video would be great for people that have already gone through it and they're wanting to kind of learn about the parts of the labyrinth that they didn't get to experience. And just because you've gone through it once doesn't mean you've seen everything. And especially in the first half of the labyrinth, there's a lot of places you don't necessarily need to go, as we saw with Emu's stream, if anybody saw that. And there's a lot of little, I don't know, insight that we can give to try to understand why we made it this way. And again, mostly so that it's sometime in the future I can watch this and kind of like a snapshot of this moment in our lives. So, in saying that, hopefully the people that don't want to be spoiled have stopped watching at this point, as we see our viewers go down. That's going to be the first part of this video. Then we'll probably cut the video, cut the stream, come back live, and then keep talking about other stuff. Keep talking about all of the what the future has to hold, and some Wurm topics, and like all that good stuff that we haven't been able to do a lot of in the last 6 months or so. So, are you ready, Adam?
I am ready. Although I have a feeling my internet is having issues.
So far you're okay.
Okay.
All right. So before we start, I went into my fridge thinking I had some beer, and apparently I have no beer. Not one.
You know what? I went to my fridge to look for beer, and I have no beer either.
The only thing I found was one Strongbow. That's all I have. So
I found some water.
You found some water. I found some Strongbow. Let's have a quick drink. This is also, by the way, if you have gone through the labyrinth or you don't intend to, and you want to ask any questions about it, this is the perfect time. Anything at all, and I'll answer. All right. Are you ready?
Here we go. I'm ready.
As I'm thinking that most people know by now, the first thing that we thought of when we were creating the labyrinth was I wanted it to be bigger and better than the first one that we ever did. And the first labyrinth that we ever created back on Delhi was based off of the movie Labyrinth. Hey, Midkiller, how you doing? And so when was this? 2012. We built our first labyrinth. Yep. It was amazing at that point from what we could do. No multi-story, no bridges, none of that stuff. Just a labyrinth. We even made our first Colossus there. I wonder if it's still around or if it has decayed away after this many years.
Maybe we'll have a chance to find out.
Oh, yeah. And it was based off of the movie Labyrinth, where you had, I think for that puzzle, it was like a village. It was like this tiny little village where we actually lived. Next to the village was the Labyrinth Entrance. Beyond the labyrinth was like a little city. I think we called it Puzzle City. And beyond that, it was a castle.
A tiny little itty-bitty castle.
Remember, at that point, we couldn't build multi-story. There was like 2 different housing types. We essentially didn't make a house. We just made tall stone walls and called it a castle.
We built a big dirt like hill, yeah. And then put tall stone walls around the outside of it. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, that's what. So when we came here, I'm like, we need to build a bigger, larger version of that. So that's where we started. That's where the whole concept came from. Pretty much the same. Back then, we called our village Puzzles. And you know why we called it Puzzles? That's the puzzle. And we wanted to do something similar, so we called it Puzzle Labyrinth. And this was going to be more in line with the movie, and more puzzles, more grand puzzles than we couldn't even imagine back then, because of multi-story and because of the mining system has been upgraded and all that good stuff. And so, of course, that's why we start with the house. It's called the Williams household. That is the name of the character in the movie, if anybody caught that.
Yeah, her last name is Williams.
Hey, Willow. Willow? 173. The 173rd Willow. Willow, you're the Willow from Independence?
Willow's Impalong Willow?
Willow's Impalong Willow. Is that the Willow? Willow?
So one thing about this labyrinth is that if you've gone through this but haven't watched the movie, there's going to be a ton of stuff in here that you might not understand. And after watching, I've watched a couple streams now of people going through, and they'll see a sign, and it'll be one of the references to the movie, and they will have no idea why the sign is the way it is. I think that there is some added interesting things if you've seen the movie and then go through the labyrinth.
I haven't really thought about that part, actually.
Yeah, like what is it like for somebody?
You just had your son go through the labyrinth. Did he actually finish it?
Sort of. I kind of helped him finish it at the end, and then he wanted to go through it again by himself. So I let him go through it again. And he's really determined to do it by himself. He knows how to get to the castle. He can get to the castle on his own. And now he's stuck in there, but he doesn't want any more help. He wants to do it all on his own. And so he's, giving it a break, and he's going to come back to it again.
Well, that's cool. All right. So last time we're about to reveal some of the secrets of the labyrinth. So
yeah, this is going to be a complete spoiler, guys. So watch if you don't mind that.
I think I keep hearing everybody say, like, read the signs, don't skip the signs, learn about, and most people do, and most people get most of the puzzles, and that's why I put so many signs at the beginning, to kind of indicate to people there's going to be signs. You should look at them.
Yep.
Like all these signs.
And they're
like
important.
1, 2, 3, 4 signs, 5 signs.
See, this one here, you hear your brother crying upstairs. This isn't critical.
Not critical.
It's sort of
just preparing people. This is how it's going to. Yeah, it's like the tone of the labyrinth.
Yeah.
Lots of signs going through.
Now the brother crying is a reference to the movie, where at the beginning she hears her brother crying and she goes into the room, and then all of a sudden the crying stops.
That's right. And so I was hearing, okay, why is there a giant door that just falls in a bedroom? In like a baby bedroom? Like, what is that? And to answer that question and not sound completely out of it, okay, 2 things. 1, I didn't actually plan for it to be like that to begin with. But 2, if you watch the movie, it transitions really quickly from the bedroom to the labyrinth. Like all of a sudden she's like outside standing in a labyrinth. And what that tells me is once you leave the bedroom, you're almost not just been transported to another place, but could potentially be a dream. Because the whole movie, if you ever watched it, could be interpreted as an entire just dream of the girl's dream. And that's sort of what I was going for here. That the house is reality, and once you open that door, you've stepped into basically a huge, humongous dream. And that's why...
Hey, Oblivion Reaver.
Yeah, Oblivion Reaver, how you doing? That's why when you look at the front what I really tried to do was make it so you can't see the labyrinth. Tried my best to make it so it just looks like a house.
Like not where we are, right? Like, but
No, the front.
from
I'm back there
outside.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like out there, yeah.
And as soon as you go through, you've entered into this dreamland, this dream adventure, and that becomes important with the way that we did the ending. All right, so the sign basically says the same stuff as the movie. You know, you want to see your brother again, you got to make it to the castle. The castle's beyond the city, which the city is beyond or at the end of this giant labyrinth that we see here. All right, of course, I mentioned it before, but more signs. This is the first sign of Sir Puzzleton. I was trying to do more like this was his journal, but of course I couldn't do the paper because I kept hearing that the paper like decays really quickly. So
yeah, I think you wanted to put a chest with like books inside of it.
Yeah.
So that you can read the book or the paper or whatever. But
people kept telling me that it was just decay, and I was like, I can't make it decay. I need to have it stay so like forever and have it self-sufficient. So that's why it's all signs now. So essentially, I wanted this to be a journal. That's how you should interpret it. I've seen more than one person now interpret it as you are Sir Puzzleton. You're not Sir Puzzleton.
But it's a great interpretation. But
yeah,
I saw one stream. I can't remember who it was, but they interpreted themselves to be Sir Puzzleton, and then they finally get to the point where they see Sir Puzzleton's corpse, and they're like, "No!"
All right, that's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, here we get in. This is just so everybody knows, and I can give credit, this was not me doing the statue rejuvenations. This was completely it's completely Retro's idea to make something called the statue of rejuvenation, and to put a sign like this that kind of is supposed to tell you, examine these statues, you'll get healed. That's what. At first, we actually tried to make it so you got healed when you went over a tile, but then we learned later that that doesn't quite work for multi-story housing. You can't put a like a self-healing tile on a bridge, for example, or in a house on like a second level. It doesn't quite work that way. So compromise was to create these statues, and we put them in what we thought was a lot of the places that you would need to have one. I have seen some corpses. I'm sorry if anybody's died in here, but we gave it a shot. Okay, I just realized I can't go through it with this character. Do you know where Kazanashi is?
Why? Oh, right.
All right,
Kazanashi is in the castle.
All right, I'm just gonna log in another character. I'm hoping that they're still around.
Oh, go in on Nisili. You can go in on Nisili. That is if you have the password.
I might not. Let's find out.
If not, I will have to...
No, yeah, I am okay.
Send it to you. You're good, okay. She should be at the front, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
Just a side note, this rare marble troll statue was something that was a fluke. Brian was just making some Brian was just making some statues for the castle area, and random rare statue popped in, so yeah, we decided to make it a centerpiece at the beginning.
It worked out.
And I see you named it Prince Jareth II.
which is another reference to the movie.
Yeah.
So like in the movie, everybody refers to the guy as the Goblin King, but his real name is Prince Jareth or something like that. Or maybe just Jareth. So yeah, Prince Jareth II. Alright, so... No, I can still go through... why can I go through... Alright, I'll just pretend that I can't go through them. The whole first part is basically straight out of the movie. There's 2 ways to go. And each side, it doesn't look like you can go anywhere. Both sides have a tall stone wall. And what I've done is made it so doesn't matter which way you go, there's a mine entrance on either side.
Right. In order to see the mine entrance, you actually have to walk right up to it. I've seen people walk not quite up to it, notice that it looks like a dead end. They turn around, they go all the way to the other side, see the same thing, and they feel like there's no way to go.
That's right. Know that if anybody's joining, please know that we are about, or we're in the middle of revealing everything about the labyrinth that I can think of for my records, essentially.
Mm-hmm. And for your pleasure, especially for those who've already gone through, and or if you want to go through and use all the spoilers, whatever, because there's already tons of streams up there that you can watch and see people go through the labyrinth.
First thing people always notice about the labyrinth is that, and the one thing that I wanted to really get down is that you have all of these choices, and each one seemingly or seems to lead to a different place. You can't just go this way or go this way and feel like it's leading you to the same area, because it's really not. But at the same time, all roads eventually lead back to essentially the beginning.
The beginning. Yeah.
The other thing that people have in their minds about labyrinths or mazes is they'll say, I'm going to go left. I'm going to turn every left. Eventually I'm going to make it out if I turn left, or I'm always going to turn right. And usually with mazes, that's true.
See that works if the maze is a 2-dimensional maze.
Yeah. We specifically, and in all mazes that we've ever done, specifically have made it so you cannot do that. That made it like it's not possible to just turn one way and make it out of this. You'll just keep getting back to the beginning.
Yeah. In fact, it's almost like you can walk around here for quite a long time and feel like you continually get back to the beginning. And it's mostly because there's not many ways that you can go that will lead you towards the end.
That's right.
And there's a lot of ways that will lead you back towards the beginning,
which people have found out if you've gone through this.
However, what's interesting that I found about it going through it is that there's actually multiple ways that will lead you towards the end as well. It's not just one way.
That's true.
There's quite a few different strategies, and you know, if you watch different streams, like you can see lots of different strategies for getting to the end. There's not just one.
And that's by design. Essentially, everybody has a different experience for the first half of this labyrinth. And what we did a couple things. So we finished the first part of the labyrinth like years ago, up until this part, up until the village. And we had people going through it. So we got our friends through it. We even had Buddha go through it on one of our streams. We had people go through it, and based off of all of the information that we got from people going through it, that's how we created the clues. We created the clues after the fact to help you, the player, get through the labyrinth more easily. So that's why it's extremely important that every time that you see a sign like this one, that you take it as a clue. It's not just fluff, if that makes sense. So
and it's not a red herring.
Yeah. There are red herrings, but the signs are particularly not. So the city mocks me. I hear echoes underneath the labyrinth, but I cannot find my way there. So why is this sign here in particular? And the reason is because the side of the labyrinth that we're on right now, there are no mine entrances. So therefore, you potentially make it to this sign and have no idea that there's an underground. So this is supposed to say, for the people that go, it's right here, I should just be able to get to it. Let me just try to go around and get to it. And then they just keep going around in circles, not able to get to this point, to basically tell them, this is not
you need to go into a mine.
Yeah, you need to go into a mine if you want to, just be frank. It's like something else. Do something else that involves going underneath the labyrinth. It sounds like there's something there. This part right here, I want to talk in particular about. And this is, I have a number of parts in this labyrinth where you come from one angle like this, or you come from this side like this. And what I found is the psychology of people going through this labyrinth is, if there's an entrance in the middle, a good percentage of the time you're going to go right by it. And I've seen it over and over again, where people will walk this way, they'll see the two ways to go, and the first thing that goes through their mind is go past this one and go this way. And of course there's like two more ways to go. And so this one's not particularly as important, but there is one that's more important in the hedge maze that people tend to overlook the first time. Eventually you see it. It's not as important. But if you ever wanted to just have a spot in your labyrinth where people would tend to want to miss, that's kind of how you do it. All right.
Yeah, this is how people get stuck in here for 8 hours.
They just miss the entrance every time. There's some people that just never go down. Finding a lot of people don't understand this clue. And I thought that it was I thought that it would have been, kind of, what do you want to call it? Like, I thought it wasn't as cryptic as what people seem to think. And why is it here? The reason it's there is because you can go up here on the bridges. The bridges, by the way, just so you know, when we started building this labyrinth, there was no bridges. The bridge system was not
when we started designing the labyrinth.
Completely.
Right? Like, we had the whole labyrinth all designed, everything was all set, and then we started building it, and we were building and building, and then bridges came in. And then we thought, we should probably put some bridges, because...
Yeah. So the bridges are kind of like an afterthought, but at the same time fit in completely, where it's half of it is like a red herring. People want to go up the bridges. It seems really important. It seems like you should be able to see more when you're up here. And then you get up here and you kind of realize you can't really see anything important.
Now, there is one thing that you can see. There is one thing that you can see that you can't see from anywhere else in the maze, and that is right when you're in the center here.
Mm-hmm.
You can see down into this little area here.
You can see the clues.
And you can see the clues. And I've seen people stand up here and look down, and they're wondering, how do I get into that little area with those clues, and they're reading the clues and they're trying to figure it out. But yeah,
which I love. Like, that's what you want to have happen. You want people to go, oh wow, this is the area I need to be in. How do I get there? And just like no one has any idea where.
So Oblivion Reaver asks, what was the plan before cave dwellings for that area? The giant buildings in the mine.
Okay.
Oh,
we did not plan that area. Wait, which one? The one
that wasn't planned yet.
Yeah.
We did have an idea that we wanted a cave system.
We wanted to talk about your idea.
Cave dwellings came in, but we had no idea what it would look like. And by the time we got down to putting it down onto paper,
you were really passionate about your idea, and that was so if you've seen the movie, and like in the middle of the movie, you get the girl gets dropped down to the oubliette, right?
Right.
So you wanted to recreate this, but you wanted to have you would drop down, and then you would be on this, I don't know, 4x4 or something, some kind of tiles, like way up, and around you it would just be like it would drop way down.
Oh yes.
And I think this was before the cave system or being able to do bridges. So we had to figure out, we were like planning in our minds, trying to figure out how do we lead them down? Which way do we lead them down? Like, how do we make it, a trick or a thing? And then I think luckily we never got to that point, and we heard about cave dwellings coming in, and we heard about bridges coming into the cave system, and you ran with it.
Yeah,
like we had some discussions, but you were you kind of just took the lead on that.
Well, we took quite a few breaks while building this thing, and during one of those really long breaks, they came out with cave dwellings and bridges. And so when we came back and we were ready to start designing again, it was just it was already there, pretty much. So, okay, back to this part. I wanted to say something about the chair.
So
I think a lot of people dismiss this. They dismiss this clue where it says, it's nice to relax my legs, but I cannot understand the relevance of this chair. And even people who read that clue and they get to the point where they actually see why the clue is there, they still don't make the connection. But can you show them on your screen?
So essentially, I put a chair here. What is the relevance? The key word there is relevance. And that's when you're up here, you can look over there, and if your mouse points over it, you see a chair. And it's called relevance. And then every time I see someone look at that, and the first thing they go is, oh, relevance? What is that? And even like, if it was like 10 or 20 minutes after they read the sign that had the word relevance, I thought maybe it would clue in. So the whole point is, you see the sign, I don't understand the relevance of this chair. There's the relevance of this chair. When you make it to a point where you have a choice of going this direction or going this direction, that chair's supposed to make you go, okay, that must be the relevance. Go that way.
Mm-hmm.
This way is important. This side of the labyrinth should have some kind of meaning or some kind of importance, and it does.
Right.
You can build in caves now. Is the cave ceiling height still limited? I believe it is. What is it? 300? Maybe it's more.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Still limited, but
it's easier to make it higher.
We've made some pretty tall caves, and bridges and buildings can now be put into caves, and it creates really as much as I would ever want in terms of designing in caves now. It's pretty nice.
Before it was really hard to get like a high ceiling, but now you just build a house and you just keep raising the ceiling, build the next level of the house, and then you can continue to raise the ceiling. You just keep going up and up and up as high as you want.
Right.
And the inclusion of bridges underground is just like, what else would you want? Seriously.
Once bridges came in underground, that just opened up everything. You can, if you're really creative with that stuff, you can make some pretty intricate, crazy mine systems down there now. I remember on my wish list was 3D caves a long time ago. I don't think I need that anymore. I think with bridges and buildings in caves, you can pretty much make insane 3D sort of cave systems the way things
However,
are now.
if there's any devs that are creating or in the middle of thinking about doing a 3D cave system, don't let what Adam just said stop you.
Right.
Anyway, Labyrinth. Let's go back to the whole Labyrinth area. So the first part of the Labyrinth. I see people wandering around, and they seem to get stuck in one section, and I can guarantee you that the Labyrinth's designed to be split into 3 areas. And that's, let's call it the south side, the north side, and sort of like the middle, which is kind of like...
Sorry, you're going to have to just keep talking. I'll be
ahead.
right back.
So the north side, the south side, so let's say this area, that area over here, and then this middle area, which just happens to be the hedge. You have the ability to get to all 3 at any time. You're not restricted, even though it seems like you are. A lot of people go up on these bridges because they feel like they can't get to the other side. But you can. It's sort of like a giant circle. You can get over here, and then you can go this way, get over here, and then you can go kind of this way, and then get into this middle area, and there's a path that leads back to this side, kind of like a big circle. Doesn't help you that there's a big circle, but there is. So really, a long time ago, I used to talk about the Pac-Man Maze. You know, it's like a Pac-Man design. You can basically go anywhere, no limitations. But with the Pac-Man design, you can't make it to the end. It's like you can go everywhere except for where you want to go. And that's exactly what we did, just in a more... the problem with the Pac-Man design is that if you're wanting to go, let's say, to the south, you're like, I'm going to go to the southeast. You can literally just point your character to the southeast and make it there without any thought. Like, there's... most of the choices lead to the exact same place. And that's sort of how I built the first Labyrinth that we ever made. Most of your choices didn't really have an impact at the beginning. You would just be able to go there if you wanted to. There's more...
Now this leads...
There's more of a choice here. So that's why
what this does... Sorry, what this does... Like, one of my... Like, I've talked to a couple people and given them some advice about what they should do in the Labyrinth. And my biggest piece of advice is... don't sit there debating between 2 ways. Like, just pick one way and go, and don't stop. Just keep going. Try to keep remembering which way you picked, but don't stop, because it doesn't really matter which way you choose, at least at the beginning, because most of it's just exploring. And
yeah, so,
no matter which way you pick, you'll get to where you want to go.
Yeah. And let me say this. I'm pretty sure there's 3... maybe 4 ways to get into the mine. Something like that. To get into the mine, the first mine that you need to go to, there are multiple ways to get in. And that's by design. I want lots of people to be able to make it in, and then there's lots of ways that you can come back out. In saying that, like, we talked about how this bridge system kind of like was like fluff and red herring. There is an Easter egg on this bridge, and I'm about to show you right now. And I'm not sure how many people have found it, but it basically doing this.
I don't think I found it.
There. You see me?
I see you. What is that? What's that area?
Tall stone walls in the way. What is this area? Good question. It's a
Is this
blocked
the
off area.
only...
It's the only place that you can't really go to. You kind of can. I mean, it's not like it's completely blocked off, but you can't get there from above.
What? You mean you can't get there from below? Wait, what do you mean
Yes.
above?
Above meaning you can't get there from... You can sort of
Walking.
get here from the mining system, but you can't get there from, above ground.
Right.
The only way to really get there is falling off this tower. That was kind of the goal. And if you do that, you get this nice little chest here. This chest
I don't think I ever knew
is
about
an
this.
Easter egg that I planted here. I made the sign as like, I don't know, I just kept imping the sign so that I was hoping it wouldn't get damaged over time. What does the sign say? It says, do you remember that little worm in in the labyrinth? So it's like, come inside, have a nice cup of tea. Don't go that way. And then I put NWNE. And it says, come inside instead. What does that mean?
Okay.
What do you think that means? NWNE.
North, west, northeast.
All right, let's do that.
So we go down this tunnel and we
Yeah,
take
go
those
ahead.
turns.
North.
Okay, so north,
Okay, so north.
and then west means turn this
West.
way.
Yeah.
Oh, and then this is the troll. So if you didn't see the troll demon
Yeah.
sign, this is basically telling you which way to go.
Yeah. This was the first clue I added to the labyrinth before any of the other clues. Yeah, north, east. Essentially
Right.
telling you to go that way, which is the correct way to go. And
Now, most people...
everyone was
Sorry.
still having problems. Like, no one's going to find
Most-
that clue.
Most people found the other sign, the one that you put in afterwards, I guess.
Yeah, so I put in that sign. I realized it's essentially just a giant Easter egg that no one's going to find. And people were still having so much problems getting through. So I put the other sign in, and it was a lot easier for people to find that sign. And I put it in that little forest area that I made inside the labyrinth, which basically said...
It is hidden
it was
behind a tree a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, it was everybody finds it. It basically says where the demon and troll do battle, which is here. Head northeast. Simple enough. Most
Now
people
here's the
get
thing
it.
is that this mine has lots of different ways out. And if you go down one of the other paths, there's like options, and eventually it leads you back out into the mine in some random place. The front area of the labyrinth has like 35 mine entrances. Like, it's just littered with them. A lot of them are locked, so you don't notice them as you're walking through the labyrinth up there because they're all locked. But you can exit them, so they're just all over the place. And you go down one of these pathways, and you'll pop out in a random spot in the labyrinth.
Not sure
except
how
for
you
this.
not sure how you die here. Yeah, it looks like just
No.
looks like just a character that was made for the labyrinth, so they didn't come back for their stuff. But
Maybe
cool.
of a severe wound that they got at some point and just died right there.
yeah, that's kind of funny. Yeah, so lots and lots of ways to go, but this is the only way that brings you forward. Doesn't bring you to the end, brings you forward to the next stage. And what's great about this, and the reason why I have these iron fence gates, is to give you some kind of ability to gauge how far you've gotten. Right? I think people seem to really enjoy the fact that they get here and they're like, that's where I was looking at when I first started. They get to this area, like inside of the hedge area maze, and they're like, I've made it one tile in finally from where I was. Like, it's so supposed to give you some kind of gauge of where you are. But it's true that the labyrinth itself, like this first part, is more of a maze. and that's why we included all these clues. There's enough clues that there's very few spots where you're kind of guessing. There's very few major choices that you're guessing on. And at this point, I would say that you haven't gone, even though it might take you a very long time to get to this point, once you do, it shouldn't take you very long to get back to this point. It's not like you have a long journey or something to get back here. Which is why...
Now, maybe... Okay.
This next part, there's no clue. There's no hint. I'm not sure how you think about that. What you think about that?
I'm not sure what you mean.
At this point,
there's no clue.
There's another 2 ways to go, and there's no clue as to which way.
Right. So people get to that middle part, and then there's a lot of ways to go wrong after this. This is the first. So if you got 2 options here,
this is the
and
only
one will lead
without a clue.
One will lead right back into the labyrinth in the main area, and one will lead the correct way. Now, what I don't mind that there's no clue here, because what I notice a lot of people doing is they'll climb right up, they'll peek their head out, and they'll look around, and then they'll go down the other one, climb up, and peek out. And I think just peeking out gives you clue enough which way is the right way, right? One, you peek out and you see the bridge, you see like just a pathway. Some people might even recognize it as a place they've already been. The other way, if you peek out, you see statues. Statues that you never have seen before.
Yeah, and like before, this place is essentially, if there's anything there, like I try not to fill it up with lots and lots of stuff, so that when you do see something, it really stands out. Oh, you see some statues, they must be important. I haven't seen statues before that often, really. Didn't litter the rest of the labyrinth with statues. So I did find some people say, okay, there's a statue here, 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 and here. Why is there no statue here? It feels like there should be one there, and there's kind of a reason for that. Initially, I had the demon statue sitting where I'm standing right now. So in like a 4... It was kind of like a cross or something, or like a inverted square or something. And what the problem was is that when you were coming up, when you were looking at the bottom of the mine, looking up, you basically were staring right at the demon statue before you even gotten close to the top. And I was thinking, that's kind of not... that's not a good puzzle. Let's move the demon statue. So I just like moved it over there to get out of the way. And I did not.
You could have moved the troll here, but whatever.
Yeah,
not a big
deal. I should have done something, but and for some
I
reason,
guess that's
moving that one demon statue put all of the statues in the correct order. Actually, I guess it was. Yeah, put it all in the correct order, which I didn't notice at first. That's okay.
But they're numbered.
Yeah, we already showed the relevance of this. Why is there a water fountain over there? I would love to say because, you know, it catches your eye. You're looking at your water bar and you're saying, I really need to go get some water. And then you go that way, and that's basically not the right way. It leads you all the way here, which has like a little mine that brings you back to the labyrinth, the main part of the labyrinth. But you do get water, so that's good. It's not like I'm that cruel. That it's just like a fountain statue thing, a decorative fountain.
I remember your reasoning for this part here was you wanted a person to be thinking, I need to get to that area, the puzzle city, which is in the same direction as the fountain, so I'm going to go towards the fountain.
Mm-hmm.
And you wanted them to be thinking that, but really leading them back to the beginning.
That's right.
And so, yeah, if you go towards the fountain and down that little hole there, yeah, that leads back to the beginning. But then
And
you
I
added the
wanted-
chair.
I wanted to give some kind of clue to allow them to know which way to go.
Right.
Also, I think people have learned that you can jump over these fences, these tall stone walls. If you go high enough, like I am at, and you lose your stamina, you could end up back in the labyrinth. That is also kind of by design. And I saw people saying that they didn't realize they could climb up here. They just saw it as like a wall. I can see that, but you know, this is Wurm. You are allowed to climb on steep slopes.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about that. You can... I've seen, and I've been able to do this a few times, but kind of climb onto the top of the tall stone walls and just walk on them for a bit. Although it's kind of really glitchy, so I don't tend to do that anymore. There it is. There's the relevance. This is just kind of like a pit of doom, pretty much. You're not supposed to go that way.
Now, what's interesting about that pathway is that some people may find that mine before getting to this point from underneath.
Chair. Yeah.
So if you go down one of the mines at the beginning and come around here, you can come out this little and not be able to get into this area.
Mm-hmm. All right. So
although some people could get stuck in the wall, which is another glitch that it's unavoidable.
Yeah. I really hope that they solve that, even though it's a little late for the labyrinth. But if you're coming out of a mine, you'll get kind of glitched inside the wall.
Yeah, especially if you try to push yourself through the wall. Yeah, you'll get stuck in there.
So there were statues. The statues were numbered. That's a clue for this next part. If you wrote them down, which I think most of the people that I saw going through the labyrinth realized that they were important and they were numbered and got the clue. It wasn't too hard of a clue. For the people that missed them, this part would be really hard.
Although I did see a really good strategy by somebody who didn't note the numbers, but they ended up successfully getting through here using another strategy, which was look down both ways and come back to the statue and make an informed decision based on what they saw at the ends of each hallway.
Yeah.
Right? Because if they go down the wrong way, what they're going to find is a really long path that leads to a mine that leads them back into the labyrinth. But if you go down the right way, you're going to find a path that leads to another set of statues.
That's right.
Right?
I'm
So that's what they
how
did. They just went
often
back.
people went this way. I love this way. This is like this is the wrong way. But just for people that haven't seen it, and I thought this was just awesome.
And a lot of these awesome things that happen just due to circumstance. Like we sort of just didn't have room for anything else.
One mapped out.
Oh, you had this one mapped out? Okay.
Yeah. So if you went this way and you weren't really thinking, or I don't know, you weren't really paying attention to what you were doing, and you could have thought by getting to the end that you were in some really cool place after being in the middle of a labyrinth for so long. And look at this.
Ah, yes.
You're like, oh, wow.
Interesting.
It's right, literally the first tile into the labyrinth is this path.
You don't understand how long it took to get this building up against this mine entrance.
Yeah.
I don't think this is the only mine entrance that is up against this building.
As people know, there are... how did we do this? There's only one way out. Well, how did we do this? There's 3 tiles at the top. So in order to accomplish a mine door like this, I think 3 3 of the tiles have to be pretty much equal.
Yes. This is one of those mine. Yes.
Yeah, it comes up like
Those
this, but
people who
it looks like you can walk this way, but you can't. It's like not a way to go. That's the exit.
It's a it's a very unique mine entrance yeah, 3 of the side, or is it 2
points.
of the sides? 2 of the sides are flat, and one of them is up against a building. Yeah, very strange.
Yeah, 3 points, and then only this point falls, and it kind of opens up this kind of half entrance. Yeah, that took a while to do.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm pretty good with this area. Let's go to the next one.
Yep.
So you get the statues, you get the numbers. You follow.
Another thing you'll
statue
notice,
number.
before we go, another thing you'll notice is the number of veins. The number of veins that are there, or in these mines, is insane. And we ran into, I don't know how many veins, and had to mine them out. Like, I must have knocked out 15 veins or something like that, just to finish this area.
Well, here's number 2. So if you saw.
Okay, so we're back. Yeah.
So the second one was the demon. If you took note of the numbers. Remembering that every time that you see a choice like that, the wrong way just leads you right back into the labyrinth. Here's another one. When I first designed this, I never put the statues here. I didn't think I had a need to. And it was just a choice. You just got to the 2 ways to go, and you just made the choice, and then you get to the next 2 ways to go, and you make the next choice.
There's 4 choices, and each one you had to pick correctly. There's a very low chance.
And at the very end, it was 5 more.
And then there's 5 more choices. Exactly. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's no way that anybody by random chance will pick the correct way.
And that's why there's these places and these signs and these statues. This was a late addition right here, this sign. Yeah,
just before we were going to open the labyrinth, it might have been the day before even, this clue was not here. And we were expecting people to choose between the 5 different ways you can go here. Actually, is it 4? 4 different ways that you can go. You can go, which way? You can go down this way.
You can go down this long path, and you've got 3 other ways.
2 options. 3 other ways, yeah. Or you can go into this room, which has 3 other ways. So we were expecting people to randomly choose, but I think it was a good choice to put this clue here.
Yeah, the nymph turns around once with a smile on her face, turns around again so she can see her place, turns around thrice more, will show her the way. I thought, it's not very hard to figure out. You had a little trouble as figuring out how much that the person would be turning, but not very hard to figure it out.
Right.
That leads to that the choice. The one way leads to the castle, the other way leads to certain death. It's not quite certain death.
And this was,
but it pretty much is. It basically leads you back to the beginning of the labyrinth, right when you get to this point. Why did you say this was the hardest choice?
No, it wasn't that it's the hardest choice. Well, yeah, I would say that it's the hardest puzzle to solve, because even if you read this sign and there's a nice little riddle on it, even if you fully solve that riddle, which, you know, some people do solve this riddle, some people don't, but some people do. Even if you know the answer to the riddle, making the choice is still in itself an additional other riddle on top of that.
All right, so this sign says one way leads to the castle, the other to certain death. Which way will they go? You find out which way to go based off of this riddle. What is more sinister than Libella, more powerful than all the gods? The wealthy cannot have me, for you'll perish if you dine on me. And essentially the answer to that puzzle is nothing. There's nothing that's more sinister than Libella, more powerful than all the gods. The wealthy can't have nothing, and you'll perish if you eat nothing.
Right.
So there's the answer. So how does that relate to this? So you go down this one, and there's a chest. You go down the other one.
No, it's not only a
there's
chest.
Nothing. So
it's not only a chest.
Yeah, at first I put
because
the chest there, and
open.
I put something in the chest, and then I thought, okay, that might be a little bit too easy. So I took the item out of the chest, and now you open the chest, and there's nothing in the chest. So now people are going to think, okay, I just opened a chest, and there's nothing. So that doesn't mean...
So this is where I say this makes this the hardest puzzle, because even though you know the answer to the riddle is nothing, your choices are to go through a path that has a chest with nothing in it, or go down the other path that has nothing in the path. Yeah. So both options are nothing.
But one is a little more nothing than the other. Come on.
Even though one is a little bit more nothing than other, I have watched several people who knew the answer to the riddle still go through the chest with nothing because they think the chest has nothing in it. Therefore, that's the way to go. But of course, if you go that way, it leads you straight back to the beginning.
Yeah. What I love about this way, and I kind of don't want to do it, it looks like you're going to win up until the last tile, and then you fall down.
You fall in, and there's a sign there. At least you put the sign there that indicates you went the wrong way.
Yeah.
That way people know they went the wrong way before walking down the probably 30 tiles of mine.
Yeah, wrong way. This is the right way.
Yeah. So this is the right way.
I want to show it, but I think it's just been getting... This has been a lot longer stream than I thought it would be.
A lot longer, yeah, I know. This archway, the wooden archway, we built that because on our actually it was on Autumn Twilight, we had designed an archway kind of like this, and we really loved that design, so we wanted to bring it back. Looks
really like this the way that this archway turned out. I think it's much bigger than the one at Autumn Twilight, although I think Autumn Twilight was two tiles wide, and this is only one, just to save on space.
Nonetheless, turned out really nice.
Make it here.